Y'all, tell me why this dude told me to meet him at Osaka's at 6. And so, like, 6:10, I'm like, I'm on my way, but he never texts back. And I get here, he's nowhere to be found. It's 6:50.
What in the 3 levels of hell is going on in her mind? There are 3 primary things that will either win a man over or lose the man. Number 1 is respect. You will either win over a man or you will lose a man over respect. Number 2, his money. You will either you validate his money or you take advantage of his money. You're going to win or lose him. Number 3, the poom poom. Whatever that man's level of receiving poom poom, the quality of the poom poom, you can win or lose a man. Now, all 3 are needed for a good man to stay. There's some more, but all 3 of those are primary. That's 80% of a man's happiness are encapsulated in those 3 categories. Now, if you're on my lives when we deconstruct religion, quite often I'll say that the poom poom is undefeated. That the poom poom made men go and change their religion. That we were just talking the other day about how that Midianite poom poom changed these men's religion. But this young lady is failing in the idea of respecting a man. If you say that you're going to be somewhere at 6, but it's 6:10 and you're saying you're on your way, you have just devalued that man's importance. So therefore, you have disrespected him. So why should he stay so that you can invalidate his money? And whether or not y'all have, and more than likely you have it in this situation, you probably haven't given him the poom poom. So there is nothing to combat him leaving. Thinking that you are so wonderful that you can just disrespect the shit out of this man's time just shows how unprepared you are to be in a relationship. Because if you cannot respect his time, if you cannot respect him, if you're not respecting his money, and then what's the point of being with you? You have shown him exactly the type of person that you're going to be over the length of any relationship. And I understand, because I had this problem. In my youth, I used to counteract a woman's lateness by lying. If we had to be somewhere by 7, I would say that we need to be there by 6:30. That way we get there around 6:45, 6:50, and we're still on time. And then when I realized that, and I hate lying, and then when I realized that all I'm doing is lying, I had to have a sit down. And I said, look, I'm tired of lying about time. That's the only lie I've been telling. So I need to eradicate that lie of time. So here's the deal. I'm going to tell you what time we got to be somewhere. If I give you time, advance notice, then you need to organize your schedule. Now, if you're not ready, when it's time for us to leave, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to go ahead and go. You're going to get mad. And when I come back, you're going to be upset. How could I have left you? All these sorts of things. But then I'm going to remind you of this conversation, that I told you that I would give you enough time to prepare yourself, but I'm leaving when I said I'm leaving. That has served me well over the decades. Anytime I've dated someone, anytime I've been with someone long term, this is one of those first few things that I tell them. And I give them the entire script. I'm going to leave on time. You're going to think that I will not leave on time. I'm going to leave you. When I come back, you're going to be upset. When you are upset, I'm going to remind you that I told you this would happen. But you could have avoided it. All you had to do is from here, this starting point is recognize that when I say I'm leaving at a certain time, I'm leaving at that certain time. Now I understand sometimes things happen, and I'm understanding of those things. But when it's done because, oh, I'm sitting around, I'm watching this television show, and now it's time for us to get ready, and it takes you an hour to get ready, but we need to leave in 30 minutes. You knew that. You know how long it takes you to get ready. Why'd you sit there and watch that show? It makes no sense. And I'm not willing to allow a person to just disrespect my time like that. It doesn't work. This woman doesn't realize that. Because if she had, she would have known. If I was making a date for someone and with someone and I tell them that we're going to meet at 6 and then it's 6:10, I'll check traffic. Okay. There was no traffic. There's no excuse. It's 6:15. I'm leaving. Actually, more than likely, me being an ass, I would probably sit there, go ahead and order, and then once she does show up, and I'm already like probably halfway through my meal, and she shows up and tries to sit down, I'm going to then tell her there is absolutely no need for you to sit here because our date was at 6. You didn't show. So now I'm on a date by myself, and I want to remain on this date by myself. And I would just shoo her away. You go on about your business, because you've already showed me you're not going to respect me. So shoot, fly, shoot. You got to go. The world would be a much simpler place if people were just honest about who they are, and what they do, and people were upfront about what their expectations are. If people did that, and other people, the opposing person believes it and accepts it, then chooses whether or not they fit, then our lives would be much, much better. Because then you meet a person, you tell them who you are, they tell you who they are, you deliberate on whether or not you can uphold what they require as a mate. They do the same for you. If you're, if the 20% that creates your 80% of happiness is there, then you go ahead and you proceed, as long as there's no deal breakers. But if they're 20%, if they don't uphold and have the 20% that you need in order to give you 80% of your happiness, then you need to let them go. That's the true 80-20 rule. 20% of all things create 80% of the results. Then you need to let them go. And then we wouldn't be going back and forth in all these relationships, because people just can't be honest with themselves and recognize what they can be and what they cannot be, who they are and who they are not. This young lady does not respect people's time. So therefore, she should be with somebody who doesn't care if you disrespect their time. But y'all have a great day. And remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.